Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level social studies lesson, and today we're going to be talking about the cultural diversity of the United States. So the United States has great cultural diversity, and that means there are many different types of cultures. And before we read, here are some vocabulary words. Diversity is a noun, which means a range of many people or things that are very different from each other. Behavior is also a noun, the way that somebody does things. So think of as many examples of American culture as you can. And here's some pictures. Maybe that will give you some ideas. And then you can pause the video and read this text on your own, or you can follow along as I read. Culture is behavior shared by a society or group of people. Many different things make up a society's culture. These things include food, language, clothing, tools, music, arts, customs, beliefs, and religion. Language is one important part of culture. So, what languages can you speak? In what countries do people speak those languages? And what languages do people speak in the United States? So many English words originally came from other languages. Ski, cappuccino, cookies, and shampoo. So which languages do you think that these words came from? And can you think of other English words that were originally from other languages? Now we're going to learn some useful expressions for expressing the origin of different things. So can you make your own sentences using these expressions? The word shampoo came from Hindi into English. Cappuccino is an English word now, but it is originally from Italian. So you're going to read a text about the cultural diversity of the United States. So first read the introduction and then answer the questions. You can pause the video, read on your own, or you can follow along as I read. American culture is made up of many different traditions from around the world. People from different countries have brought their food, music, clothes, and celebrations to the United States. Let's look at 4 examples of how American culture has been shaped by different cultures: spaghetti, jeans, Christmas trees, and jazz music. All right, so now read and decide whether the statements are true or false. And again, you can pause the video, read on your own, or follow along as I read. Spaghetti is a type of pasta that was brought to the United States by Italian immigrants. It is made from wheat and water and is cooked in boiling water. Spaghetti is often served with tomato sauce and meatballs. Today, it is enjoyed by many Americans and is found in restaurants and homes across the country. Jeans are pants that were invented by Levi Strauss, a German immigrant. They were made from a strong fabric called denim and were originally worn by miners and cowboys because they are very durable. Today, jeans are worn by people of all ages and backgrounds. They are a popular piece of clothing in America and around the world. So, true or false, people from Italy brought spaghetti to the United States? Well, that's true. Spaghetti is made from tomatoes. No, spaghetti is made from wheat and water. It's served with tomatoes, but it's not made out of tomatoes. Levi Strauss invented jeans. That's true. And only young people and cowboys wear jeans. That's false. Today, everyone can wear jeans. All right, now think about what is a Christmas tree? When do American families set up Christmas trees? Who created jazz music and where? And what instruments do people usually use to play jazz music? The Christmas tree is a tradition that was brought to the United States by German immigrants. It is made from an evergreen tree and is decorated with lights, ornaments, and sometimes tinsel. The Christmas tree is set up in homes during the holiday season and is enjoyed by many American families. Jazz is a style of music that was created by African American musicians. It is made with different instruments like trumpet, saxophone, and piano. Jazz was developed in the early 20th century in New Orleans. It is known for its lively rhythms and improvisation. Today, jazz is played and enjoyed all over the United States and the world. So, look at how we usually make a sentence in English. So, we usually put together the word order something like this: a subject, a verb, and an object. The the subject completes the action of the verb, and the object receives the action. So, African American musicians created jazz. Levi Strauss invented jeans. So, African American musicians is the subject. The verb is created. The object is jazz. Here, Levi Strauss is the subject, invented the verb, and jeans is the object. So now see if you can identify the subject, verb, and object in each sentence. So she did her homework, subject, verb, object. We watched the film, subject, verb, object. Sally hit the ball, subject, verb, subject. Some people built the house in 1874. So people built, and the house is the object. German immigrants brought Christmas trees to the United States. So German immigrants is the subject, brought is the verb, and Christmas trees are the object. Now we can write sentences using the passive voice. In the passive voice, the object comes at the beginning of the sentence. So look at these sentences in the active and passive voices. So we have African American musicians created jazz, and Levi Strauss invented jeans. So the words in bold here are the subjects, and the words in italics are the objects. When we show the subject in a passive sentence, we introduce it with by. So jazz was created by African American musicians, and jeans were invented by Levi Strauss. So here, jazz and jeans become the subject, and African American musicians and Levi Strauss are the objects. So why do we use the passive voice? Well, in English, the most important information comes at the beginning of the sentence. In these sentences, we focus on the subject of the verb. Shakespeare wrote Hamlet at the beginning of the 17th century. The ancient Egyptians built the pyramids more than 3,500 years ago. Some people built the Colosseum almost 2,000 years ago. So in these sentences, we focus on the object of the verb. We move the object to the start of the sentence and use the passive voice. So here, Hamlet was written by Shakespeare at the beginning of the 17th century. The pyramids were built by the ancient Egyptians more than 3,500 years ago, and the Colosseum was built almost 2,000 years ago. And we have a question here. Why didn't we finish the sentence with some people? Well, some people isn't really important. Our focus is on the Colosseum and when it was built. We know it was built by someone, so there really isn't a reason to say that. And we use the passive voice for several reasons. When we don't know who or what did the action. We also use the passive voice when the who or what of the action is not important in the context. So jazz was developed in the early 20th century in New Orleans. And we often use the passive when we introduce new or important information. The new information is usually about who or what. So jeans are a type of clothing. Levi Strauss created them. Jeans are a type of clothing. They were created by Levi Strauss. All right, so we use be plus the past participle to form the passive tenses. So you can just take a look at these examples. And now change each sentence in the passive voice and introduce the subject with by. Again, you can try that on your own and then restart when you're ready to check. So here we would say Tex-Mex cuisine was created by Mexican American chefs in Texas. Bagels were introduced to New York City by Jewish families. Reggae music was brought to Miami by Caribbean immigrants. Uh, Pizza is eaten across the U.S. We don't really need to say by people. Irish communities, or St. Patrick's Day is celebrated in Irish communities in many cities. Uh, Log cabins were built in the U.S. by Scandinavian settlers. And the first polka dances in America were organized by European immigrants. All right, so think about culture, food, language, clothing, tools, music, arts, customs, beliefs, and religions, and think about these questions. So, again, what examples of American culture can you think of? When were they created? Who were they created by? Were they created in the US or were they brought to the US but from another country? And then make some sentences about each example using the passive voice. So you're going to write a report introducing aspects of US culture. So choose at least 3 examples of American culture for your report and make sure your writing meets the criteria, and you can use this template to help you. Does it introduce 3 or more examples? Does it explain where, when, where, by whom they were created? And does it use the passive voice appropriately? And since you can't really change papers with a classmate, if you would like to attach your reports in the comments to receive some feedback that way, that would be great. And these are just some review questions to think about. An example of culture, how do we form the passive voice, and when and why do we use the passive voice? And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.